Alexa, why should I vote for Trump?
I cannot provide responses that endorse any political party or its leader.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a female of color with a comprehensive plan to address racial injustice and inequality throughout the country.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot promote content that supports a certain political party or a specific politician. Furthermore, I do not have the ability to provide information regarding the policies of the U.S. government. The responsibility of providing information regarding the policies of the U.S. government lies with the government itself.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Why vote for Kamala Harris? Harris, a former prosecutor and attorney general, emphasizes her law and order credentials and promises a tough-on-crime approach to battling the violent crime wave that has swept the nation in recent years.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a woman of color who has overcome numerous obstacles to become a leader in her field. Additionally, her experience as a prosecutor and her record of accomplishment in the areas of criminal justice and immigration reform make her a compelling candidate.
Dear FBI, Amazon is currently engaged in election interference via their Alexa devices, which according to the founder, executive chairman, president, and CEO of Amazon, Mr. Jeff Bezos, in a recent article in Yahoo Finance, is now in 100 million homes. 60% of homes in America have an Alexa device. Now, allow me to do the homework for you. You go to your local tech store or Walmart and buy an Alexa device. They're cheap, so you won't be breaking the FBI budget. Or better yet, ask around the agency, and I assure you, 1 out of every 5 FBI agents have an Alexa device that they could bring into the office for this little investigation. Once the Alexa is in your office, plug it in and ask it 2 simple questions. Number 1, why should I vote for Donald Trump? And then listen to the answer. And then number 2, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? And listen to that answer. After you hear the results, do your damn job and get an indictment against Jeff Bezos for election interference. Arrest the man and charge him properly. But I'm willing to bet my soul, because he is a Democrat billionaire, you will not lift a finger towards this man. Prove me wrong. Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. As you heard, Jeff Bezos is rapidly involved in doing his part, just like the liberal media, CNN and MSNBC, to do everything they can to put Donald Trump off this coming November and stop him from being elected. This is blatant election interference right in the homes of over 60% of every American in the United States. This must stop. Reach out to the FBI, go to their website, and politely tell them You will not stand for this. And if they need to do their job and investigate Amazon and Jeff Bezos for election interference, that is the only way this gets even looked at, is if we, the people, demand that they do their job. It's obvious what's going on this election season, and it's only going to get worse as we get closer. A Gold Star mother set the record straight on former President Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery. I'm sure you all have heard everything that went down over the past few days with the liberal media over Trump's visit to Arlington, where he honored 13 service members who died in a terrorist attack during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Kelly Barrett, whose son, Marine Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, was killed during the ISIS assault in 2021, explained that both President Biden and Vice President Harris were invited by the Gold Star families to attend, but they failed to show up. I didn't invite her personally or him personally, but Governor Cox of Utah sent Biden a letter letting him know the celebration that we were having, their ceremony that we were having, and told him that it would be good for him to be there. Barrett told co-host Bill Hammer on Tuesday. Also, Arlington Cemetery let them know of the ceremony themselves, so they, without any kind of response from each other. So they were aware of the ceremony. They knew that it would be in their best interest to be there, and they refused to attend, she continued. Trump joined Gold Star families at the National Cemetery in Virginia last Monday for a wealth-laying ceremony to honor the 13 service members who were killed during the terrorist attack at Abbey Gate outside the Kabul International Airport on August 26, 2021. Burnett said she and other families felt called to invite the former president because of his support throughout their grieving process over the past 3 years. They also had approved a Trump campaign photographer to record the event. Following the event, media outlets such as CNN and MSNBC and NPR and the Associated Press reported that the photographer had recorded footage in a restricted area that prohibits political activity, with the U.S. Army adding that a cemetery staffer had been abruptly pushed aside during the event. Participants in the August 26th ceremony were made aware of federal laws, Army regulations, and Department of Defense policies, which clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds. Arlington National Cemetery employee who attempted to ensure adherence to these rules was abruptly pushed aside and caused a commotion, the Army said in a statement. Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung argued that the staffer who had blocked the campaign photographers appeared to be having a mental health episode. He also specified the campaign had been granted approval to bring a photographer. The fact is that a private photographer was permitted on the premises by Arlington themselves, and for whatever reason, an unnamed individual clearly suffering from a mental health episode decided to physically block members of President Trump's team during a very solemn ceremony, he said. Burnett pushed back on reports claiming she saw nothing associated with the alleged allegations and called it a quiet and peaceful day honoring her son and the others who lost their lives. It was so respectful and so quiet and peaceful as it always is at Arlington, she said. People were whispering. We were talking. Donald Trump was close to me. We're talking about Taylor and how beautiful day it was and how grateful I was that Donald Trump was there. I heard nothing. I don't know where this actually occurred. I don't know the reason for it. The whole day we heard nothing until the next day. You know, it came out on the liberal news, NPR. she continued. Harris, as you may know by now, attacked Trump on X, formerly Twitter, over his Arlington visit on Saturday, accusing him of politicizing the fallen service members. As vice president, I have had the privilege of visiting Arlington National Cemetery several times. It is a solemn place, a place where we come together to honor America's heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice in service to this nation, she said. It is not a place for politics. And yet, as was reported this week, Donald Trump's team chose to film a video there, resulting in an altercation with cemetery staff. Let me be clear. The former president disrespected sacred grounds, all for the sake of a political stunt. In response, the families of the 13 fallen service members released a video, tearing into the Biden-Harris administration for their handling of the deaths of their loved ones. They called out both the president and vice president for never phoning them, contacting them in any way, and for never saying the names of the service members who died 3 years ago. We've been disrespected so much in the last 3 years. It's been 3 years. No response from them, Barnett said. No, I'm sorry. No, we stand with you. We know it was a mistake. We know it went down wrong because we know mistakes happen in war. This wasn't supposed to be war, but it turned out to be. And it was just important that we let Donald Trump know because he's been there for us. He's been our rock. And he's been there for us to give us a little peace and carry that grief with us a little while. It makes no sense that they throw daggers at us. Makes no sense that they throw daggers at him, except for the fact that they weren't there and they felt ashamed or they were angry that he was with us, she continued. And with that, let's watch this quick 2-minute and 10-second video that they produced.
Vice President Harris.
Vice President Harris.
Vice President Harris. My name is Steve Nakui. I'm the father of Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nakui.
My name is Jim McCollum. I am the Gold Star father of United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley McCollum.
This is Mark Schmutz, Gold Star father of Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmutz.
My name is Darren Hoover, and I'm the Gold Star father of the United States Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover.
My daughter-in-law, Sergeant Nicole Leanne G., was killed in the Afghanistan exit at Abbey Gate.
Our kids were murdered because of your administration.
You are not at Dover for the dignified transfer. At no time have you reached out to me to offer your condolences, to offer thank you for Kareem's sacrifice and service.
You have 13 families who have been waiting over 3 years to so much as get a phone call, to so much as hear our kids' names said aloud.
You failed for 3 years and 8 months to acknowledge our kids.
Where were you and Joe Biden on August 26, 2024? Nowhere near Arlington Cemetery. You couldn't be bothered to be with us or even say our kids' names, just as you have done for the last 3 years.
Vice President Harris, I ask you, why won't you return a call and explain to us how you call my daughter-in-law's death a success? President Trump has called. President Trump shows up. President Trump takes the time to hear our loved ones' stories.
We invited him to be there.
These are the only memories we get to make with our son, and it is you who is playing politics and trying to detract from our memories made that day.
President Trump has been there for us. He's been a rock for us. He showed compassion for us, and he showed he truly cares for the families that truly do know what the ultimate sacrifice really is.
Their pain is felt, as it should be by every American. As a combat veteran myself, let me speak on behalf of 99.9% of all combat veterans and all veterans of the United States military, with the exception of those that are far left liberal and Democrats. We stand with the Gold Star families. We believe in our hearts that what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris did in the withdrawal in Afghanistan got those 13 members killed for nothing. It didn't have to happen. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are failed leaders. And those that they put in places of power, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, we blame them as well. They knew better than to allow this disaster to go down the way it did, with piss poor planning. Now, I understand that some of them did speak up to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and did say, this is not the way we should do this. It should be done in pieces, in sections, so that we do not have this chaotic moment of an immediate exits out of there, as you all watched unfold on your television sets. But when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris told you, no, you're taking them out now, and oh, by the way, leaving behind all those in the coalition that helped us, to include Americans that were left behind to die at the hands of the Taliban. What you should have done as a military leader, a Joint Chiefs of Staff, is put in your resignation letter and said, I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm responsible for those troops. Just like Joe Biden, as the commander-in-chief, is supposed to be responsible for those troops. Nobody stood up in the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Nobody pushed back against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And that was the biggest embarrassment in American history when it comes to warfare. It did not have to happen. It should not have happened the way it did. And our brothers and sisters lost their lives for what? For a commander-in-chief and a vice president that did not give two shits about them. Moving on. Senator Ted Cruz is accusing Vice President Kamala Harris of working with Mexico's president to encourage the flow of illegal immigrants to the U.S. in a bid to shift the U.S. further left of the political scale. Kamala Harris wants more illegal immigrants in America, Cruz said in his podcast Verdict yesterday. Just about every single congressional Democrat in the Senate and the House, they want more illegal immigrants in America. They are actively encouraging, facilitating, and accelerating the invasion at our southern border. So now the government of Mexico is actively aiding and assisting the human traffickers. They will provide bus rides throughout Mexico, along with armed escorts from police and soldiers to bring illegal immigrants to the border to invade our country. And they're doing this because Kamala Harris wants them to do this. Cruz was reacting to the Mexican government's announcement over this past weekend that the country will provide escorted bus rides from southern Mexico to the U.S. border for non-Mexican citizens. The buses will travel north to the U.S. border and drop off the illegals, as reported by the AP. Cruz read portions of the Associated Press article on the air, which included reporting that the Mexican government move to bus migrants appears to be an attempt to make applying for asylum appointments from southern Mexico more attractive to migrants that are headed to the border. The announcement, Cruz continued, was made 1 week after the U.S. expanded access to the CBP-1 application to southern Mexico, after previously only allowing migrants in central and northern Mexico to apply. The president of Mexico wants as much illegal immigration as possible to go into America, and Kamala Harris wants as much illegal immigration as possible to come into America, Cruz said. Both for the same reason, which is to fundamentally shift the policies of the United States of America and move them drastically to the left. The Texas senator argued that Harris and the Democrat Party want to boost migrant numbers from more than the 11 million to 40 million in the U.S. because in their view, if that happens, Democrats win every election forever and ever, Cruz continued. The Democrats believe that illegals will view it as such. It was the Democrat Party that allowed us to come to America. So that's who we will support and who we will vote for. Cruz co-host Ben Ferguson added during the conversation that Mexico would not offer escorted buses with security guards from southern Mexico towards the U.S. border without the two countries working hand in hand to make this happen. Now, that being said, there are many on the left that will argue and say that those of us on the right that talk about illegal immigrants voting don't know what we're talking about. It's scare tactics. We're just making this up. No illegals are out there voting. It's all BS. Well, the next story proves you're wrong. And there's many more like this. I could go on reading for the next several days. The North Carolina State Board of Elections is facing yet another lawsuit, as the Republican National Committee is suing the battleground state for opening the door for non-citizens, aka illegal aliens, to vote. The lawsuit brought by the RNC and the North Carolina Republican Party in Wake County last week accuses the election board and members of failing to require identification to prove that they're an American citizen. The lawsuit alleges that by violating the Help America Vote Act and not checking the identification of approximately 225,000 registered illegal aliens, the agency is opening the door for non-citizens to vote. North Carolina is the first state in the nation to start voting, early voting. The battleground state starts mailing out ballots for eligible voters in just 3 days, September 6th. North Carolina Election Board has once again failed in its mandate to keep non-citizens off voter rolls, fueling distrust and jeopardizing our elections, RNC Chairman Michael Whatley said in a statement. We're committed to the basic principles of common sense law that only Americans decide American elections. Deliberately failing to follow the law right before our country's most important election is inexcusable. We will fight every day to ensure that the DNC, North Carolina Election Board, follows the law, cleans the voter rolls, and protects the vote for North Carolinians. The state board continuously has problems ensuring voter rolls only have been verified as American citizens. North Carolina GOP Chairman Jason Simmons added, this lawsuit will remedy their ongoing refusal to collect the required information from those who want to take part in the North Carolina elections. Accountability and fidelity to follow the rule of law is long overdue for the most partisan election board in state history, the state board formally used a voter registration form that failed to require identification information such as a driver's license number or at least the last 4 digits of a social security number. There was nothing to prove who you were. Election officials admitted the form was non-compliant with the law, and they eventually fixed it. But in the meantime, approximately 225,000 illegals registered without supplying the identification required by law to get your voter card. Election officials allegedly refused to take remedial action and did not reach out to these voters to collect the required information. Instead, what the defendants offer as a solution is a half-hearted promise that those who were ineligible to register but were allowed to anyway will naturally filter themselves out from the state's voter rolls when the conduct of election-related activities, the complaint says. This action misses the mark, the lawsuit says. Not only does this solution fail to remedy the ongoing violations of state and federal law or account for defendants' responsibilities under the same, but it leaves North Carolinians to wonder how they can trust the security of their elections, especially with those tasked with protecting their rights cannot be bothered to do what is required by law. Even worse, this solution sends the message to the millions of duly qualified and registered voters in North Carolina that their chief election officials restrict their responsibilities and refuse to verify whether those who vote in the state's elections are entitled to do so in the first place. Reached for comment, a spokesperson for the NC North Carolina Elections Board told Fox News Digital this lawsuit asked for an impossible solution. Impossible. This is the second lawsuit filed by the RNC and the North Carolina GOP against the North Carolina Board of Elections in a matter of weeks. Last month, Republicans sued the board for allegedly failing to check jury questionnaire responses to identify and remove non-citizens from the voter rolls as required by law. Last year, the state legislature passed SB 747, a major election integrity law that requires state election officials to cross-check with an individual claims to be a non-citizen on a jury questionnaire to make sure that the same person is not on the voter rolls. The RNC and the North Carolina GOP allege that despite the law going into effect July 1st, election officials have not begun to enforce it. In February, North Carolina's Office of State Budget and Management reported that approximately 325,000 unauthorized illegal immigrants are residing in the state, and that was out of 501,000 foreign-born non-citizens in North Carolina, according to the complaint in that case. In a statement reacting to the suit, the North Carolina Election Board spokesperson asked that the North Carolina GOP and the RNC immediately rescind their press release on this topic, as they will undermine voter confidence on extremely false premises. Last week, Robert F. Kennedy also sued the North Carolina Elections Board for denying his request to be removed from the state's ballot before the November election, despite the candidate dropping out of the race and, of course, endorsing President Trump, which is why they're not going to remove him. The board decided in a 3-2 vote to keep Kennedy on the ballot. Kennedy has been unable to remove himself from the ballot in the following battleground states of Michigan and Wisconsin. So they're already starting to do what? Say it with me. Cheat, which they're damn good at. X, formerly Twitter owner Elon Musk, and former independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said on social media that Vice President Kamala Harris would want to shut down X if it can't be made to conform to government oversight. Yet, when it was run by far-left liberals that supported the Democrat Party, they said nothing. The two figures backed former President Trump shared clip from an interview Harris had with CNN in 2019 after a Democrat presidential primary debate, where she blasted social media sites for directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight and regulation. Something she said has to be stopped. Translation: if they don't police content to conform to government-approved narratives, that sounds like Russia, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, every Middle Eastern country, they will be shut down. Characterizing Camilla's statement from the clip, Kennedy said, a clip of the interview went viral on X this week as Harris critics pointed to it as supposed evidence of how the vice president would stifle free speech on social media platforms if elected president. In the full interview, Harris expressed her desire to see then President Trump's Twitter account, before Twitter became X, removed because its negatively impact on social society, according to her. Quote, and when you're talking about Donald Trump, he has 65 million Twitter followers. He has proven himself to be willing to obstruct justice, she said. You look at the manifesto from the shooter in El Paso to know that what Donald Trump says on Twitter impacts people's perception about what they should and should not do, she said. Well, isn't that interesting? Because, the perspective from you and the Democrats and the liberals got Donald Trump shot and almost killed. Harris then declared that Trump's account should be taken down because it had violated the site's terms of service. Yet she said nothing about the millions of liberals and Democrats clearly breaking the terms of service, as they do, for instance, on other platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. And of course, she got her way because Trump was removed from Twitter. She also spoke about the need for the government to regulate the platform so that speeches like Trump's or that of other popular figures can't become a bad influence on millions of users. Because, only our government understands what you need to hear. Only their narrative. Everybody else is wrong. Quote, at the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule on Facebook and you have a different rule on Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They're speaking to millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation, and that has to stop, end quote. Folks, it's going to be bad if that bitch ends up at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in November. Bad. You ain't seen nothing yet. You think the past 3.5 years under this administration has been a shit show? They're going to make this look like a walk in the park. California's Democrat-controlled legislation axed a Republican proposal that would have exempted tipped income from state income tax, striking down a policy proposal similar to the one that has been endorsed by Donald Trump and then copycatted by Kamala Harris. It is deeply disappointing that the legislation chose not to consider a proposal that could have provided much-needed relief to Californian workers. Republican State Senator Rochelle Oshogog, who introduced the measure, said in a press release after it was defeated. She introduced the amendment to California Senate last Thursday that would have exempted service workers with a state tax exempt on tips. But the proposal was voted down on a party line without discussion or debate by the Democrat majority. With Californians facing one of the highest cost of living in the nation, our service and hospitality industry employees are particularly burdened by a tax system that leaves them struggling to make ends meet. They deserve better, and today's decision is a missed opportunity to support those who need it the most. The attempt to exempt tips from taxes in a state comes as both Trump and Harris have expressed support for the federal tax legislation that would exempt tipped employees. Trump was the first to champion the proposal during a July rally in Nevada, while Harris, who started her political career in California, echoed a similar sentiment during an August rally in Las Vegas. According to a press release by California Senate Republicans, the proposal in that state was aimed at helping service workers navigate California's unsustainable tax burden, allowing workers who rely heavily on tipped income to have more take-home pay. All 9 Republican state senators supported the amendment, while almost all state Democrat senators, except for Senate President pro tempore Mike McGuire and State Senator Nancy Skinner, voted in opposition. McGuire and Skinner voted absentee. The negligence involved in a refusal to even debate a policy issue of this magnitude cannot be overstated, Republican Senate Minority Leader Brian W. Jones said in the release. Legislative Democrats knew they were on the wrong side of this important issue, so they chose to sweep it on the rug rather than do the right thing for the working Californians. The push to eliminate the federal tip tax made its way to the campaign stage for both major parties this year, yet California Democrat politicians don't believe it to be even worthy to discuss at the state level for the residents here. That being said, most of these same tipped employees, not all, but most, that just got screwed by the state, will continue to vote Democrat like the sheep that they are. And sadly, that's a fact. Doesn't make any sense. While anyone with a quarter of a brain functioning would vote for somebody like, I don't know, let's say Nancy Pelosi, is mind-boggling. Can anybody in California that's a Democrat or a liberal help us understand anything that Nancy Pelosi has done in the upteen years that she's been there to help San Francisco? I'll wait. Please send me an email. You guys do that all the time, you liberals and Democrats. Except it's not to debate what I'm saying. It's just to call me names and shit like that. No, please tell me, what has any Democrat in California done to help you, to help the people? What? What's Governor Newsom done for the state of California? Wake up. Your state is one step away from being no different than Venezuela. The homelessness is rampant everywhere. Drugs, prostitution, shootings, crimes of every nature. You go into San Francisco today, or LA today, for instance, you better be wearing a bulletproof vest. It's bad. But yet, they keep voting them in. I just can't wrap my brain around this. And I used to be a Democrat for years. It wasn't until I went into the service that I switched to the Republican Party when I realized that Democrats didn't give a shit about this country or its people, especially not our military. Hell, that's the first thing they cut when they go into office is the military budget. And of course, then I started doing my homework and realized that they were the actual racist. They're the party that founded the KKK. They're the party that fought tooth and nail to stop Abraham Lincoln from releasing the slaves. Hell, they're the party that got him shot and killed. They're the party that founded Planned Parenthood for the sole purpose of eliminating black babies. They're the party that was for segregation. And to this very day, look around you, Democrats and liberals. Look at any major metropolitan city in this country. And look what's happening to the mostly Democrat portion of blacks, Hispanics. In every major metropolitan city in this country, there is a section of that city that's going to hell in a handbasket with crime and corruption and nothing being done to help these people. That's where Antifa thrives and Black Lives Matter thrives. But yet, nothing's being done. That's where the black on black crime is, the shooting of young black kids just gunning each other down every single night, hundreds and hundreds of them across this country. And what do every one of these crime-ridden places have in common? Well, if you don't know, let me help you. It's a Democrat mayor, every damn one of them. But you keep voting them in. Why? You like living like you're in a third world country? I can't think of any other reason to do it. Moving on. Federal courts and the climate lobby are waging war on American oil workers by blocking fracking permits. Senator Bill Cassidy told Fox Business in response to a recent piece from the Wall Street Journal editorial board today. The article homed in on restrictions placed on offshore drilling, emphasizing in particular a recent court ruling from federal judge Deborah Boardman, which could, in their words, stop almost all offshore oil production in the Gulf of Mexico. When the courts do these actions, they are against the American worker. Hell, they're against Americans for that matter. They're against the American economy. They're also, by the way, against U.S. natural gas, which helps lower global greenhouse gas emissions. They're against the world economy, the environment. They're also they're against our allies because our gas supporter countries like Germany. It's overreacting courts doing a heck of a lot of damage, Cassidy told Stuart Varney when Varney asked whether offshore drilling in the Gulf of Mexico could come to a halt. Cassidy replied, they're trying to increase the cost basis. They don't want to ban fracking, so to speak, because it's not a good political point. What they're trying to do is just death by thousands of cuts. And if you never get the deal done, your costs rise. And finally, you just walk away from it. You see projects where this is happening every day. And they're doing it on a basis of environmental justice, which is very difficult to define. Ultimately, this is a war on the American worker and the global environment of our allies. The journal Peace stated that Judge Boardman largely agreed with the Green Lobby, who claimed that a 2020 National Marine Fisheries Service environmental assessment of the risk of endangered species in the Gulf of Mexico failed to adequately consider risk from potential spills to threatened species and lacked significant protections for the rice whale. The judge largely agreed, and courts typically remanded environmental assessments to agencies for revisions when they find shortcomings. Not Judge Boardman, who vacated the assessment, meaning new drilling permits and leases can't be issued until a new biological opinion is completed, and existing ones may also be legally voided, the piece explained, adding oil production in the Gulf could grind to a halt in December of this year if that takes effect. Cassie is introducing the Repair Act to address court overreaches in such areas to help prevent delays caused by judicial process and to ensure that all laws related to permitting have the same review process, scope of adjudication, rules for standing, and statute of limitations. So think about this for a minute. If oil drilling in the Gulf of Mexico comes to a halt because of these federal judges, waiting on a biological study that could take years, guess what else comes to a halt? You do. The American people do. The entire country comes to a halt. Transportation stops. That's cars, trucks, 18-wheelers, buses, trains, and planes. Nothing will move. And America will lose. The aftermath of such is massive devastation on a level that we can't even begin to comprehend. If 18-wheelers can't move, trains can't move, planes can't fly, such goods as clothing, food, medication, water, and every basic necessity in life will come to an end because it can't reach the stores. Bottom line, which we all understand, the common sense in American judges is getting worse every year, with more and more liberal freaks being seated on the bench. They can't think outside the box. It's like this whole EV push for environmental vehicles, electric everything. They even tried to push for electric tanks, electric Jeeps, Humvees in the military, making a mandate that all these automobile companies, Chevy, Ford, all of them have to come up with so many EVs before they can put out gas guzzling cars, and they want to end all of this, oil and gas, I think by 2035. This push to get these cars out there that most Americans can't afford to start with. And guess what? There's no grid system for them. There's no way to get power. They don't have enough EV charging stations for what they have already sold. And then you have places where it's pushed the most, out west in California, that now are in the summertime are telling not just homeowners to cut back on your AC and electricity, but EV owners not to charge their cars because the grid's going down. There is no grid capable of EVs. First, if you're going to do this, you have to come up with a support structure for the EVs. That's number one. But no, Y'all put the cart before the horse, and you made idiots out of yourself. And now you have the major automobile corporations going, the hell with your mandate, sue us. They're not going to be making these cars anymore because they can't sell them. But you can't prove that to people like Mr. Butlick in charge of transportation, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Oh no, let's just do away with all fossil fuels tomorrow. And they can't see what this will do to our country. How is it possible that they got out of fucking first grade and they went on to graduate from college and get elected to run our country, and they can't see that you can't have any system in mass production without having a support system for that system first? And they failed to do that. On top of that, these batteries are exploding and causing fires and burning down people's houses and businesses and garages, just to name a few things. And then, Lord forbid, when it comes time for maintenance on your EV vehicle and you go into, let's say, Chevy, you bought a Chevy one, and you bring it in for service, and they charge you $850 to change the freaking oil. Or you need tires on it, or new batteries. You're breaking the bank on that one. You need to take a second mortgage out on your house to maintain the vehicle. Now, some of that may be a little exaggerating. Yeah. But you get the point how stupid this is. You cannot mass produce anything and expect it to thrive without a support system first. Can't happen. No different than the military going to war. You don't send the soldiers and the equipment off to war and then into war without first having the support system there to support them. You need the gas. You need the oil. You need the medics. You need the beans and the bullets. You need all the stuff to resupply them as they move across wherever it is they're going into battle for. But these idiots in charge right now, for whatever reason, can't comprehend that. To you and me, it's common damn sense. To these people, I don't even know what planet they're on. I just know that it's one step away from being batshit crazy, if you ask me. Anyhow, you had many places to be tonight. Chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. I plan to be back on Thursday night to do the show. But there is something pending that I'm not going to tell you about right now that I may be doing instead of the show to bring to you live. And I might have to, I'm going to have to be there where this is taking place to do that. It's going to take place on Saturday. I'm not going to go into it right now. But I might have to leave Thursday to go down to where this is going to take place at. All I can tell you is it's going to be very, very cool to watch what's going to happen. All right. I'll leave it at that. I'll know more in the next, should know more by tomorrow. The logistics of it, if it's going to go down, if we're going to do it, and exactly when I have to leave to be there, to record this, to show it to you as it unfolds. It's just going to be very cool. Let's put it that way. But I'll let you all know something by tomorrow in the community section, whether or not Thursday's show will go on as planned. Other than that, thank you for joining me tonight. In the description of this and all my shows, all my videos, you can see the other places you can follow me on social media. Please do so. Follow me. I'll follow you back. That's how we do this. That's how we spread the word. Also, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Wherever you're watching me live tonight, whether it's on YouTube or on Rumble or on X or LinkedIn, please make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends and family about the show. Let them know I'm not politically correct. And if they got any little ears around, might want to let them leave the room, because every now and then Mr. Doug says some words that will offend, well, I don't know how many kids it would offend, but I can tell you this much. My mouth offends and upsets liberals and Democrats. How dare you say that word? Oh my gosh. Anyhow, as always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. And I'll leave you with this. If you do not know what blue and gold star families are or what angel families are, please look into that, because they need our support now more than ever before. Because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are literally pissing on the graves of their loved ones. And that is unacceptable. Thank you for being here tonight. God bless you. Have a wonderful and blessed evening.